What is up, my cutouts? Cardboard Ninja here, coming at you with the final dev vlog update before the release of, well, the Battle Pass tomorrow. And so, as usual, they decided to do a stream covering what's going to be in the Battle Pass, and these are just my thoughts on it. Looks as though the first 9 levels of the Battle Pass are actually quite lackluster. 1 and 2 are covered by the gentleman's head here, but if I recall correctly, it is just a logo and maybe some coins or something. These crates are irrelevant, though they give a chance to get resources. You really only want the uranium. Everything else there is kind of irrelevant. Basically, the first 9 levels are really, 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 really bad if you look at them. This is somewhat lackluster and very disappointing because I feel in my heart of hearts this is a move towards trying to get more people to purchase the 15 level boosters so that you end up obviously paying more for the exact same battle pass. Yeah, that's all, just getting access to things sooner. Moving on from there, on the first 9, the next 9 are also very similar. The first 2 that are over here is the Iris. I believe you get this at like level 10. The Iris is, of course, the very first upgrade to, or the very first item that you get from the Battle Pass that's brand new to the game. This thing is going to give you the scope that you're going to be able to zoom in. Well, not going to give you the scope. It's going to improve the scope on the car. It doesn't take any energy, but it just generates power score. It's not going to be bad. It's actually going to be quite strong for many people who already use the zoom feature but want even more zoom for free. This will outperform. He was looking for scopes, but the actual word that he was looking for was visor. It will probably outperform the other visors, especially the TS1 Horizon, which is already obsoleted by simply the basic scope in the game. Other than that, some more resources, the ability to craft these, which isn't overly relevant, and another callback to the Pyralid. And the previous callback was some camber wheels. More paint. More paint is always good. Let's see, moving on. What I think is interesting is there is apparently a Bat CK out there. It's always good to see these things as they fumble through. Talking about the Iris module with the 6x scope. Next up, oh, that's right. The next one was the autocannon, the little brother to the Whirl. Honestly, as I said before, it's just going to be an autocannon. I think it does 28 damage in one shot, if I recall correctly. It was captured like 1 millisecond before that. 24. It does 24 damage in one shot. It's a decent-ish autocannon, but as I said before, it's just going to be an autocannon. It's bullet-based, so unlike the other autocannons which do blast, that's just going to be straight bullet. Not really a big problem with that, other than the fact that if you're already established in Crossout, it's not going to mean anything. But if you're brand new to Crossout, getting some of those may help you out. Again, it's just an autocannon, nothing terribly special. Those structural parts look cool. I'm eager to get them. The blue lights, I'm eager to get as well. Those are also cool. The Miller, and what's really funny about this is he keeps having his face blocking the actual stats of the gun, so it's difficult for to bring those up. But let's see if we can see in action a little bit. The Miller is interesting, even though you can't see its stats. It says every 25th hit or something, something ridiculous. It originally was supposed to be every 5th hit, and they increased it but to a significant number. Is going to be explosive and deal additional damage. Originally, as written, it didn't deal additional damage, but now it does. I'm waiting for this guy to take a shot so he can see its actual damage. It did 26, which is interesting because that would mean that its damage is 13, which is, I believe, very similar to the Reaper. I expected the damage to be lower than the Reaper's, but from here it seems like the damage is almost the exact same as the Reaper's. So if that's the case, this may actually end up outperforming the Reaper minigun, which is an interesting set of events. Unlike the Reaper, Sorry, it was 15 successful hits. Unlike the Reaper, this thing does overheat like other miniguns in the game, which is, well, good. Also, 5 energy points each for the Miller, which means you technically can have 3 of these compared to the Reaper's 6. But the problem with this is they do overheat, so you can't really have 3. Uh, well, you can. You can have 5. You can have 3 and a single RN seal. So 3 and a single RN seal. You could actually the Miller might actually outperform the Reaper with that. Very interesting. But then again, that's not a very high bar. As everyone knows, the Reaper does have its problems. And from what I could tell, it looks like it was bulleted as well. More crates, more CKs. It looks as though up to level 41, we're not really getting that much other than the Miller. After that is the Avalanche, which is the mortar. Damage is, of course, set to max. There's a lot of weapons with damage set to max. Thankfully, up ahead, there is a capture that you can see of how much damage it deals in one hit. It deals actually a phenomenal amount of damage, 700. And, yeah, that's good stuff. It's obviously front facing only, isn't a turret at all. Chunks damage. He finally realized his folly, decided to show the stats after moving his face over. But yeah, so he'll end up shooting his own vehicle. It'll do well over 1,000, but that's all because of splash damage. So 945, 200 gold, but none of that matters because you don't know it's on his vehicle. And just showing you guys the 700 damage hit. This is what I was super eager to see because I was like, oh, I hope he has a damage ball so we can actually see the real damage of this gun. And there is a damage ball. He sees the damage ball and in proper dev fashion aims at the damage ball, but then he's like, but what if you looked over here instead? I heard the ding. So I was like, I was hoping that he'd spin the camera back around. He's showing you that when the perk is active on this, the little the little cover closes. And what's really funny is that little cover provides apparently 30% damage resistance to the gun just by that thing being closed. But it reopens and closes, and there's your 700 damage with only 1 second remaining to see it. So this is going to hit unbelievably hard. The bullet drop on this thing is phenomenal, and the projectile speed is unbelievably low. So he aims up towards this billboard in the distance, and it's not going to get anywhere near that billboard. It's going to go barely in the distance. So a gun that you're not really looking forward to being hit with, it's close range only. People are going to have to put this on fast cars, and it's going to be the quintessential quick boom gun. Like I can imagine putting this in a cockpit, honestly, and then just boosting in and clapping someone at absolute point blank range, 700 damage plus blast. Put it on a Harpy, same difference. New CK for the Bastion. People like the Syndicate's look. More Syndicate. We're going to end up getting Janabi work pieces. Expect that to come down in price. CK for the Aurora. And the Omamori. This is a big one, actually, I'd like to talk about. I don't know if it's going to pop up with the stats. I think he will pop it up, and I'll pause it if he does. So the Omamori follows the exact same parameters as the Averter, as well as the Master Cabin, which is you want to make use of these nodes. Anything attached to these nodes gets damage reduction. The damage reduction of the Omamori is interesting because unlike the damage reduction that's in the game, it's actually true damage reduction, as in as listed. It splits damage between whatever gets hit and the Omamori. And the Omamori apparently has 300 something durability on it. Or 300 something as a damage shield, which is actually pretty good. Let me see if he ever will pop up the parameters. I know he does eventually. He's trying to explain the perk right now. There we go. So what this means is that 360 is effectively doubled because this thing is only taking 1/2 of whatever damage hits the weapon. So this thing actually has 720 hit points of durability, holding basically keeping your parts alive, which is remarkably good. Unlike the Averter who says 30%. Well, you might be trying to compare, well, which one's better, Omamori or Averter? And this is for people who are using Yangwangs specifically. Well, in reality, the Omamori is actually going to be better most of the time. And the reason why it's going to be better most of the time is because it does a 50-50 damage split, and half of that damage gets split into nothing. It gets split into the X zone. Uh, you're straight up getting basically double the damage reduction of a Averter. Very long story short, damage reduction is very stupid in Crossout. It's calculated very interestingly, but basically you don't get 30%. You get 1.3. You divide damage by 1.3, and dividing damage by 1.3 actually is the equivalent of about 24-ish% damage reduction. So this having 50% is literally twice as effective as the Averter for the same energy. So unless you're using the Averter on a Leviathan, the Omamori is going to outperform it. Other thing that needs to be, two things that do need to be noted. One, this only says parts. Parts that are attached to power nodes get this durability, not cabins. So the Omamori is not for cabins, the Averter is for cabins. That's one thing. So the Averter is not entirely obsoleted by this. Thing number two, you cannot have both. Only one passive defense module can be mounted on a vehicle. So it's either the Averter or the Omamori, not both. Yeah, those are pretty much the only things you have to worry about. One energy, I expected this to come out for 2, to be honest. One energy for this is actually pretty brutal. It's already difficult enough to remove Yangwangs. Now it's going to be twice as hard. Moving on. This is where he shows off Scorpions against something that is Omamori'd. Remember, they do 280 each. So it should do 280 total. But for some reason, it comes to 266. So these are probably fused with damage reduction, which is probably the reason why it's doing 266. But yeah, half of that damage is being X-zoned into nothing until it breaks. And when it finally breaks, then you deal full damage to the gun. Standard stuff. But it's going to be interesting. Some weapons are about to get very, very, very durable. Jiboku workpieces. Kaiju workpieces coming up. Honestly, I think that that's not a good choice. The kaiju is already, done. Honestly, everyone who wanted a kaiju pretty much has a kaiju. Kaiju work pieces, I guess, why not? Anyway, other than that, we've got the Heather, and the Heather rocket launcher, or a rocket artillery. I was afraid that this is going to obsolete the Mandrake, and it will, as anyone who sees this thing in use will see. Long story short, it says the higher card speed, the faster the weapon reloads. That is the perk of the Heather. And that is what you typically do with the Mandrake. You fire and move, and everyone always uses a light cabin. Well, you're still going to use the light cabin, you're just going to use this, and you're going to get basically 30% faster reload off of it. Unlike the Mandrake, this thing is accurate. I'm actually remarkably surprised how accurate this thing is. You can fire it apparently while moving or not while moving, and you're going to hit. So, Rip Mandrake, Heather for life. Notice how he's already got 27, 28, 29% reload, but he doesn't need all of that reload because it's already reloaded. Obviously, stack reload mods. Maybe bring it with a reload cabin if you really want to. Really rain down the pain. Of course, it's not going to be overly meta simply because of the fact that it's got a dead zone, but man, it looks hyper effective. For artillery. Anybody who is good at the Mandrake, going to get this. 2 Cyclones, work pieces, that's sexy. And of course, as you guys know, the Cyclone CK is coming up. More paints. Yokozuna. You can make your own rocket artillery. It looks like they're only giving us one of these rocket artilleries, so we actually have to make another one, a second one for our own, if we actually, want to have 2 of them. The Kami Light Cabin. This thing's going to be pretty good. I've spoken about this before, but I may as well speak about this now. This may actually replace the cockpit in Leviathan Clan Wars. Most people wouldn't think that because the cockpit's damage bonus is so high, but in reality, if you're in Levy CW, you know 100% of all Leviathans bring destructors. Your cabin is constantly overheated, and being overheated means that you have 50% life effectively because you take 100% damage, period. Well, this can make you immune to taking 100% damage, which means that even if you're not dealing plus 40% damage, you're still taking 50% less damage. This is long story short, you will actually be more durable with the Kami than you will be with against someone using the cockpit. So if someone's using the cockpit, you're using the Kami, all things otherwise being equal, and you go toe to toe and you shoot at each other, the person using the Kami will actually kill the person using the cockpit first, because you'll take 40% bonus damage because they're boosting. They're using a booster cockpit and they're getting that 40% bonus damage, but they're going to die sooner because you're dealing plus 100% damage, because you can simply activate this perk and become immune to heat effects for 5 seconds, and it takes less than 5 seconds to destroy Leviathan, especially if you're doing 100% damage. So this could replace cockpits on Levy C-Dub. No joke. You should still keep the boosters. Next thing up are these rocket and gun turrets for your range. Oh, it's amazing. For your test drive range, these things are actually quite awesome. I'm looking forward to them. Basically, they allow you to test things like the Sabbaths. They allow you to test your build for taking damage from rockets. Crazy stuff. That's awesome. That's really, really awesome, because it's been really very difficult to test things. The CK for the Cyclone is going to be amazing. It makes it look great. And finally, the Ripper. The Ripper's getting buffed, as you guys know. Actually, I'm sorry, he went to co-drivers, but yeah, the Ripper's going to be buffed, and I may as well cover that later. The co-driver system is here. You've got Jay, the sniper, Grizzly, who might be the new Master Jack, honestly. This is because this is the one with mass limit plus 3%. They were mentioning, no, we're not going to give you the 500 kilograms back. They meant it. But more importantly, they have the Master Jack's 5% car durability, which Master Jack had. It has the maximum increase that Master Jack had, and it has power part penalty reduction. But the most important thing is this thing improves damage resistance by, of course, it says 30%, but as we all know, when it says that, it means that you divide by 1.3. It stacks linearly with all other things and asymptotes to 0, which means that you can never truly get that much damage resistance this way. But this will combine with the effects of the Averter, this will combine with the effects of the Omamori, and this will combine with the effects of all other damage resistance perks. So what this means is you can get really, really, really tanky. You can get over 50% damage reduction from this resistance. If you have this and an Averter combined, you'll get like 1% damage reduction or true damage reduction or something like that. Really interesting. Really interesting. Yuki is you get, stay close behind someone, stacks up, you get 15% damage. You also get resistance against things that slow you, which is very interesting. Cap and tonnage is not the same thing as maximum mass. It means that you can bring less wheels. And movement part durability is decent, stacks with the engine that provides that. Phobos is you don't want to be detected, obviously. Invisibility cooldown, armored car speed. So this means no matter what, you're moving 5 kilometers an hour faster. They took all of the perks that buffed specific cabins and said, no, universal, it goes to this guy. You're just 5 kilometers an hour faster. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And if you don't receive damage, 25% more damage for 5 seconds. Phobos could actually work with the Ghost. The R-Type 52 is the new drone guy. More drone durability, faster activation time, drone delay before attacking. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with hover drones or, the flying drones. Or at least the perk can't trigger off it. You can affect them, but the perk can't trigger off of them. But yeah, you can basically get a drone boost. It's... Falcon looks cool as hell. I think he just looks awesome. But other than that, weapon spread and movement, he's going to be, I guess, the new sniper. Enemy detection, radius, etc. If you can keep a guy in your sights for 2 seconds, good luck. And within radar, you're going to highlight the modules and deal 15% more damage. So Falcon could be interesting. Honestly, the co-driver system is going to be... I'm sorry, I didn't go over Billy. Maybe he'll click on him. Pretty sure he will eventually. Maybe he will. Billy is going to be insanely ridiculous with Punishers. He is a machine gun buffer. If you'll take more damage in return, but you'll deal more damage as you fire, it's pretty insane. Co-driver system is going to be interesting. I think the co-drivers are better than the ones that we currently have. Only issue that I think is going to show up is earning them. Thankfully, they changed it from glory points to intelligence. Very wise, very good move. because intelligence is I'm sorry, glory points was a terrible, terrible name. I believe now he's referring to the Ripper. Nope. Still talking about co-drivers. We've got new map. I think the new map looks good. It looks very similar to one of the maps we currently have. In fact, when they started showing it off, I'm like, isn't this the same map we already have? No, it's actually different. Looks good. Can't wait to play on it. Looks like fun. This map is going to be amazing because this is the new chase mode. Chase is back. Actually, I didn't think this would be that big of a problem until I saw the little faux Leviathan up there, which is like 6 Reapers on it. Pretty sick. Yeah, you chase down a giant Leviathan that shoots back at you, and you try and kill it while they try and kill you. This thing is going to be ultra deadly if you ever get a spawn where it's just covered in machine guns. The bots don't miss, so expect to get burnt down. Chase game mode back. I don't know how well the Tusk is going to do against them. We'll see. If Tusk boosters can still one-hit the chase, it'll be funny. That's all I got to say. The Master Cabin has been updated, as they said. The maximum cabin speed has been taken down to 75 kilometers an hour, but the mass limit has actually been increased to something appreciable, so you can actually use it. Use the standard nodes on the side to heal whatever's attached to it. And other than that, we'll see how it rocks as a medium cabin. Oh yeah, when you activate the perk, it no longer heats you to 100% nor 50%. It only heats you to 25% heat, because before it was just suicide for nothing. And now it is partially suicide for still basically nothing. The healing is exactly the same, and yeah, it will automatically activate itself though. So it used to automatically activate itself, but it took forever for it to do so. Now it will automatically activate itself once it reaches maximum effect, meaning that it will actually heal the full 50%. So we'll see if that helps. The Master Cabin may become a hover build with hover porcupines. That could be interesting. And finally, as I said before, the Ripper got buffed. It is now a 360-degree turret instead of a narrow angle. I think it was like 22.5-degree turret. Kind of ridiculous there. And they also increased the impulse and the duration of the spikes. Other than that, I don't think there's been any other huge changes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the pass, though I think that, to be honest, the first 9, 10 levels are kind of cash grabby, which is kind of unfair. Because, before in every other previous battle pass, like the second thing you unlocked was usually a weapon. It was the Tempura, even though the Tempura wasn't necessarily meta or very good. It was the Therm, even though everyone hates the Therm. It doesn't matter. You still unlocked a weapon early on. So if you were a brand new player, you'd unlock that new weapon and be able to jump right in and start playing. Even if the weapon wasn't good or meta, you still got something new immediately. But we're not getting that this time around. It looks like we're going to get a bunch of cosmetics and rando things. And this is the crafting components. He decided to go through them just so you guys could see what you need to make them. So this is what it's going to take to make the Iris. This is what it's going to take to make the Tempest. Really cheap. Really, really cheap. So maybe people should crank these out. The Miller, which is going to make the price of the Equalizer skyrocket. I may actually end up making Millers. The Avalanche. I don't know. Oh man, I got rid of my Fat Mans. That makes me feel dumb. But yeah, that's where you create an avalanche. I don't know if I'll end up making additional. Omamori. Oh my god. That's brutal. 2 barriers. 2 neutrinos and a Doppler. Oof. And of course, extra resources. Pretty brutal. The Heather. Oh. Clarinet toe. The price of the clarinet toe is going to skyrocket tomorrow. And Guardians and Rippers or Millers. Oh my goodness. Wow, Millers are going to be in high demand. Actually, no, Tempests are going to be in high demand. So it's a good thing Tempests are cheap to make because it's going to take a lot of Tempests to make a lot of these parts. They only give you one of those rocket artilleries. So because they only give you one, you're going to need at least a couple Millers to make that. And then if you want actually a couple Millers to use, at least 3, so you could make a triple Miller build, you're going to need to build at least 2, assuming you get the battle pass and you get your free one that is fused. And then, of course, the Kami. Surprising, it uses a Bastion cabin. That is all. All right, well, hope to see you guys in the battlefield tomorrow. Hope everyone enjoys the battle pass. Peace.